Hello. Welcome. Here we are for one last time in the courtyard of the John Bourne Zone. And after 34 months of calling this place home, it's time to move on to other things. So I thought it's been a while since I've done anything here, and it feels like the closing of a chapter. So let's close it off properly with a little session. In fact, I've got a bit to talk about, so we're going to do this in two parts, a double header, if you will. We're talking tonight on the 23,509th day of my existence on this particular planet, this time around. And we'll conclude it tomorrow morning with a proper Sunday morning sesh. Okay? So, without further ado, let's roll into the first part of this double header. This part's called The Long Slow Goodbye.
Isn't it strange how love can change over time and space? I can see it in your face and eyes. The lies I've told through the years, the tears you've cried, and the wild passion of our youth. Behold the truth we share. You're always there. You're there. You're there. You're always there.
As you might remember, we left Camp 420 there in Colfax, the Maison du Soleil is what we called that residence. After 8 years, we left to relocate here to the John Bourne Zone. We needed a better house to accommodate my mother, my ailing, elderly mother. So, in preparation of relocating her from Hot Springs, Arkansas to the foothills of the Sierra here in Northern California, we leased this wonderful place from a couple of really great folks that we've since become pretty good friends with. I know that there's a lot of footage. I think I did 3 or 4 episodes from on the road. The time I went there to help her sell her house and transition into the assisted living, and then another few episodes somewhere in the whole span of everything here where Mom came back to California with us. And it wasn't easy. I got to tell you, it was probably one of the most beautiful, heart-wrenching, joyful, brutal love we've ever shared. Where things went sideways, where we really noticed the end of the end, if you will, was right around the holidays in 2024. That's when things really got more difficult than I have words for, so I'm not going to try to find them. Inside, even though we didn't want to admit it out loud, we knew this is it. This is her last Thanksgiving, her last birthday, her last Christmas, her last New Year, her last Valentine's. Eventually, we were able to establish that she had something called vascular dementia. Eventually, we were able to get her on the palliative care hospice at home program, so she was able to die at home. And just about a year ago now, April 29th, 2025, we said our final goodbyes to my mom. I had when I started this whole project, I thought I'm not going to get too emotive in there. I've been, working on that a lot lately, and instead, I wanted to lean into the things, the gifts that we took away from all the death that followed us in this past year, and in particular, my mother, and the long, slow goodbye. New beginnings. That's what I wanted to bring up. I wanted to talk about the things that are coming our way with the Family Chalmers Consortium, the Intrepid Editor Press, the Long Wave Home, our radio program, and things like that are coming our way, are coming your way if you'd like. Join us. I'll put links and stuff in the show notes or whatever, but everything is always at the website, of course. The same website that we're celebrating 25 years. How many websites have been around for 25 years, folks? Mine has. So visit it and you can find out more about what's going to come next down the road. Anyways, so I'm doing that. And then the next week is movie week. So that's why this is our last chance to say goodbye here from the John Bourne Zone. And with that, I'm just going to tell you to take care of yourself, get some rest like I'm going to do, hydrate like I like to do, be safe. Yeah, it's a big, crazy world out there. There's a bunch of nutballs and random things that can happen. When you're moving about in the big world, but at home, also, there's things that you trip on. There's stuff that you read that poisons your mind. Things that you eat that can kill you. Okay, so be safe and always keep that dauber up, man. Always keep your dauber up. I'll talk to you later. Good night, Irene.
Welcome to the long way, to the long way home.
Hello. Welcome to the 23,510th day of my life. It's Sunday, the 19th of April, 2026, Bicycle Day. It was this day that Albert Hoffman took his famous bicycle ride and rode off into a brave new world, one we've all been enjoying ever since. And we're here for part two of the long, slow goodbye to the John Bourne Zone. So, you saw a little clip there in the studio. It's a mess. I know we're in the process of tearing things down, but we're also just finished the mix for episode 4 of The Long Wave Home, which is called A Self Portrait, a Ukulele, and Old Roger. Happens to be one of the longest episodes we've produced, also, so. That drops on Tuesday, but here to promote it. I'm not here to tell you all about it and everything. It's a mishmash. It's not a podcast. It's a radio program. It doesn't have just people talking. It has music and it has little scenes, little vignettes in it. It has texture. It has sound design, soundscape. It's not a podcast. So just keep that in mind. But it's called The Long Wave Home because that's basically what the whole series is about. Slowing down in this world where everything comes at you bing bang boom, fast fast fast. We thought maybe there's something there to be a little slower, a little more intentional, give things some room, a chance to breathe, a chance to think. So that's what the long wave home is. And it's something that was inspired by living here, by my mother, by the things that are going around in my head and how to say the things that I've got to say before I'm no longer here, before I shed my mortal coil. I think the thing I enjoy the most about producing, writing, directing, everything that we're doing here with the Long Wave Home is the handcrafted production values. We recorded here at the Blue Moon Hummingbird Sanctuary, which is the name of the recording studio here. And it is put together by the Free River Players. That's our little troupe of volunteer actors. And they're not really even professional actors, just people who like to ham it up, do silly voices, play a character, bring something to life, be part of something. We feature Nevada County artists, Nevada County music, and the Nevada County scene, but we'll talk to anyone, anywhere. We'll use music from different places. Um, we'll interview people, like in this next episode, from afar. So, although it's very local centric, the lens is definitely pointed outward into the big world. So, the long wave home. It drops on the 21st on Apple Podcast, but you can find it on your local community radio station. If you can't, call them, tell them to look it up. It's free. So I hope you like it. Um, I don't often talk about my health and my well-being, but a lot of you know that I have been dealing with PTSD for over 20 years now, and I've been dealing with um, this multiple lupus diagnosis since 2018. So I have some challenges and stuff, and I'm not going to give you all the details. Let me just kind of tell you two quick things. One is PTSD. I'm making some progress with a new form of therapy called EMDR. And it kind of sounds wishy washy, yin yangy, kind of woo woo ish, but it really isn't. It really has some scientific backing. Read a book called The Body Keeps the Score by Beeser van der Kolk, and it really made a lot of sense to me. It really touched on a lot of things for me. But the most important tell to me, this last Thursday, for example, it marked the 25th anniversary of my daughter's murder. And I had an EMDR, and we went closer to the core memory, to that core trauma than we had ever done before. And I got very emotive, but I also got this sort of cathartic release. I was able to kind of hold the memory without it breaking me. I've also noticed a reduction in my chronic pain. I've noticed a clearing of my lymphatic system, feeling like I'm breathing better, I'm hearing better, tasting things more. And I don't think it's a coincidence that this psychological trauma therapy that I'm doing is translating into actual physical manifestations that it's not going to cure my lupus, but it'll certainly help me maybe deal with some of the chronic pain I get as a result of it. Which brings us to the other part of the equation for me, my chronic lupus diagnosis. They detected the lupus in my spine, they detected it in my kidneys, but at that point, there was no indication that they were at risk. Things have changed. My kidneys are at risk. A few months back, had a biopsy on my kidneys, and it confirmed I have lupus nephritis in the kidneys, and what it means, what it's going to change, I don't really know. We're right at the beginning stages of addressing it. They did try to put me on a medication I didn't react to, which I kind of knew I wouldn't. Um, I go to see the my a nephrologist with UC Davis this week, so we'll be coming up with a plan to deal with it. But um, it does change the equation, and it has been changing the way I've been feeling health wise lately. Um, of course, a lot of stress going on with the move, with the dealing with the grief of losing my mother and Kelly's mom and her dad and my uncle, and it is a lot of stress, and that's a pretty big trigger for the flare up. It's hard to say if is it the kidneys or is it the stress. Who knows? Doesn't make a difference. I have to keep on top of it, which is why I end every um, little segment here. I end the things I write with the saying to take care of yourself. It is so important to pay attention to what your body is telling you. Listen to it. When you need to lay down, lay down. When you need to eat, eat. You know, um, take care of yourself because you can't show up for anyone, for anything else if you aren't right. And I often say, be safe. And sometimes I'm thinking about the big world where there's, random shootings and, masked men who might snag you off the street or shoot you, or car accidents, or just freak accidents out there in the big world, but also at home, because it's usually at home where you're most comfortable and you're not paying attention the most. And one slip in the shower, one trip over the step could be fatal, especially for people of my vintage. So be safe out there. Always, always, always keep your dauber up. Thanks for watching this series on my channel. This concludes the John Bourne Zone Chronicles. Bye-bye.
The stars need the dark to shine your mind.